Hello, everyone. So the session today is about how to crack product management case comps. Product management has recently emerged as a rapidly growing and in-demand profession across all B schools. And it is especially lucrative for people who want to stay connected with the tech world, even post MBA. So this seems like a perfect opportunity since with the rise of technology and digital transformation, companies are increasingly relying on product managers to lead the development and launch of successful products in the market. A little about myself. My name is Bliss Sinha. I completed my engineering in 2019, gained 2 years of work experience at United Health Group Optum, and then joined the business management course at LRDI Jamshedpur. I did my summer internship at Walmart in the field of product management, where I grabbed a PPO and I'll be joining them this month. I took part in a lot of case forms, failed in many, succeeded in a few, and they are mentioned here. And I say this with utmost affirmation when I say case comps are the only place where I learned the most in my B school journey. So why should you take part in case comps? Apart from the learning, the obvious learning that takes place, it gives you a platform to gain experience. An experience of how the corporate world problems look like even before you step into the real world. There are companies offering PPO, PPI opportunities, which can come handy, especially when they have a market such as now. While winning case comps is not that easy, if you do so, they give you a lot of value add in terms of CV, especially when you don't have a lot of CV points and if you are a fresher, that is. But last and not the least, money and personal branding. You'll get a chance to win a lot of money, meet a lot of talented folks, build network, etc., etc. Here are some questions which I asked my seniors when I was starting my case com journey. Where to begin, how to structure the thoughts, should a framework be used, if yes, to what extent, what kind of team should be formed, how to make slides, and examples of the submissions that they've made. We will address all these questions in our session today. So the first one is where exactly to begin. There's certain things to keep in mind before you start. You will lose a lot of case comps before marking your first victory. So be prepared to hustle. Start with B school case competitions before actually venturing into the corporate competitions. So it's like IPL before the World Cup. For every solution, there are two main things to be present: rational and key objectives, which you will have to address in your submission. The research to be done should cover the user needs and emotions. So keep yourself in the shoes of the user to understand the problem statement at first. Don't suggest things which are too obvious or already present in the market. If that was good enough, this problem statement would have not existed in the first place, because companies do have a set of resources and developers, product managers who are already using their brains. If they could have solved it, this question would have not arose in the first place. Companies are also on a budget and look for pragmatic solutions. Don't suggest too fancy approaches which require a lot of effort, time, and money. Now, what we have to do is find a sweet spot between the practical and the fancy. Represent our thoughts properly using wireframes, if any. Although it is very difficult to convey your exact thoughts using words, with the use of diagrams, it can be easily done. So it's where diagrams come into picture. Now, some other things to be kept in mind, that we have to explain the features in detail. Because what may be obvious to me might not be obvious to the person who's reading it. So for more clarity, what we do is integrate the feature way frameworks with the explanation, and all this is made into in the same slide. And we minimize trivial UI recommendations. So we try to stick to one main idea instead of 10 small ideas. Also, a good PM just not suggest what has to be done in terms of feature, but also keeps track of things and measures the success of the features that they suggested. And success matrix are a good way to do that. The other things can be include a screenshot and sequence of wireframes to actually show them a user experience flow and help them navigate. Help them imagine the navigation. Also include the explanation of each wireframes. Now, when I used to first reach the problem statement, I had a gazillion things in mind. So I often wondered how to structure these thoughts. So this is the approach that came across me, is divide the case statement into two and think from both the perspectives to bring out a holistic and a best solution. So for analyzing the company, understand the case statement properly before jumping to the solutioning. List down all the facts mentioned, call out the assumptions you have taken, and list on the asks pertaining to the submission. Now, what we have to do is we have to do a lot of due diligence in terms of reading the company and understanding what their vision and mission are, and will our solution be synergetic to what their approach is, what their approach has been till now. We'll also have to apply the frameworks which we have been taught in B school, because there is a reason this was a case given for B school and not an engineering school, which is a structured approach. And a submission should be a story, a structure which conveys our thoughts and solution in such a manner that it's easy for the person reading it to grasp. The next part is the customers. We'll have to understand which target group that is to be addressed, because sometimes it's not clear with the case, but as we research and read a lot, we come to know that there may be similar looking target groups, but not everyone has to be addressed. We have to focus on one primary group and the others would be secondary groups. We'll have to understand the pain points, the drivers, gaps, basically anything and everything. Also, if finding secondary data pertaining to that target group is difficult, we'll have to then start a primary research, conduct surveys, interviews with the relevant people. In the next way to structure our thoughts in the next part, development and enhancement. So in the first page of your submission, give a description of how you want to develop your feature. Showcase your big idea. How is the solution going to address the current gaps? What exact quantified value are you going to provide to the customers? Detailed solution analysis of how, why, what, and whom, so that the person reading it can envision it and get the whole picture with clarity along with the launch and implementation cycles. So this is where you start painting the picture, as in the development. The second phase would comprise strengthening your solution and enhancing whatever you've mentioned in that. So with the help of financial data, projections, success matrix for each feature, expected impacts, and validation of recommendation using appropriate tools, we can strengthen and bolster our already suggested hypotheses and solutions. So should we be actually using a framework? So what I suggest is do not blindly follow a template. See what the question demands. What kind of statement is it? Because each question is different and it requires a unique approach. Although the framework remains more or less the same, we have to slightly differ in terms of how we are able to tackle the question. So let's say there are four types of problems. It's product design, product revival, metrics driven. The framework that we'll be using would be something in this order. We'll first start with industry analysis, then the company and background, the problem analysis, user insights, the target groups that we have researched, the solution, then starts the solutioning. We'll suggest features, we'll prioritize them, we'll design the wireframes, how will they look like, success matrix, and finally, the go-to-market strategy. I'll discuss them in detail when I show you a sample presentation. But as of now, these are the key headers that we need to focus on. Now, what kind of team should be formed? I am suggesting here that it is beneficial to create a diverse team so that you get different perspectives, skills, and experiences. When you encourage constructive feedback and dissent, diverse viewpoints, it can lead to better solution, innovation, and improvement. Now, whether to maintain a consistent or dynamic team depends on the objectives of the case, priorities of the teamwork, and the team should also evolve over time based on changing circumstances and member growth. For example, let's say I decided to go with a certain team, but few months down the line, it's a placement season, and one of us is not placed, one of us is. So that person might focus on his placements and not on case comps. So since the priorities of each member would be different, they may choose to not participate as well. These might be this is a one-off instance that happens during the school. So be a little flexible in terms of who you can work with. So assigning roles based on a strength and instant interest is important, but flexibility is also needed to optimize team performance. So let's start with how to make this slide. So basically, we have to tell a story because just pasting text wouldn't actually make it engaging. So there are three main parts of the summation: executive summary, full-fledged deck, and the appendix. This would make your slide and summation a wholesome one. Now, while many ignore the appendix, I'll tell you why an appendix is important. Often submissions have a slight limitations. So this appendix allows presenters to exceed slight limitations and include specific content upon request. The appendix also enables inclusion of visual aids, survey results, and references, all the primary research that they've done. And hence it is imperative to ensure proper treatment of appendix and adhere to appropriate templates. Additionally, the appendix should also be structured methodologically in chronological order. How to make the slides? In this, I want to convey that the solution that you're making should be practical, scalable, coherent with business, and financially feasible. So these are the main four pillars that you'll have to keep in mind while suggesting the solution. Presentation scripting. To create a compelling presentation, familiarize yourself with your audience, conduct practical presentations, including your college seniors, etc., your batchmates, or some professional if you know, and avoid solely describing the slide. Craft a narrative. Some common mistakes that you need to avoid is some common mistakes to avoid when creating a presentation. Avoid creating text filled slides, because if you only fill text, nobody's going to read it. So there's a rule that your text should only be 25% of the slide area. but that isn't, but due to paucity of space, sometimes we'll have to use the area wisely. But don't uh, design and space it in such a way that it does not look text heavy. Consider the presentation as more than just an assignment. The third part is financials. To make financials relevant to the presentation, emphasize the relevance and embed financial Excel sheets into, because if someone wants to refer to your calculations, your projections, they can, and it would not just look like you've copy pasted a graph from somewhere just for the heck of it. The last part of the session is when I walk you through one sample summation. So this is the problem statement. It is long, but the gist of it is they wanted to the market for such mental well-being application expand, the plethora of incentive applications creating. We had to research the current market landscape around mental well-being application and design our own version of ideal mental well-being platform for the end user, include features, etc. That would result in a comprehensive explanation application. So we going back to this. This is a product design, new and existing app problem. I'll show you the presentation which we submit. We started off with problem definition. We did a need gap analysis of what are the key questions that the users often, what are the gaps? Because they say that current are expanding and there might be some needs which there might be some gaps which need to be addressed. So we are trying to find those gaps. We also did a competitive landscape. We researched some of the top rated apps on Play Store and Apple Store. So these were the 5 that we came across, and we benchmarked it with the top 5-6 features that all these apps had, and to understand what makes an app work, and if it's not, what exactly is that feature which is bringing them a lot of engagement and downloads. So what works for them? We made 3 user persona. Now what I do is I seldom feel that not everyone is going to read my user persona and what these different people are trying to convey for our app. So I make it evident through the names itself. For example, lonely Lina, procrastinate Pratik, and overworked Olivia. So the names itself make it evident even when the person does not read all these, name is in such a fashion that they'll get a gist of what these user personas are trying to convey. I then map them in terms of important characteristic physical attributes and what could be their pain points, suggested pain points. Now, these were the 3 main, although there might be a lot of personas, but these were the 3 that we thought which we want to address. So it's up to you because you'll have to prioritize the user personas as well. Now, the suggested features. We listed, after brainstorming, we had listed 5-6 features and we then prioritized them. The feature prioritization was done by a RICE score. RICE score is reach, impact, confidence divided by effort. So what is the reach that this feature could have? Let's say out of 100 people that this that can see this app, how many can actually be reached? Out of the 100 people that exist, how many people can be reached using this feature, the impact that these reached people can have, and the confidence that we have on the reach and impact of this. The effort in terms of the development, effort, time, etc., we took all into account and made a cumulative score to prioritize them. We then focused on the only three features. Since this is a new app, we did not want to start with only one feature. We suggested three features and explained them. For like I had already mentioned, all the wire frames and the descriptions go hand in hand so that people can envision also that what these features look like. For example, the circle of care, we'll show them the description, objective, what is the objective of this feature, the feature description, the results that we want to gain, etc., etc. Also, we try to include the product roadmap. In the phase one, it was just minimum viable product, which features. So the top three features which we prioritized would go into an MVP phase. And the second two, which we thought were important, hence we say that after the successful deployment of MVP, um, these two would go into the enhancement phase. These are the descriptions of the other two features. So that makes it three now. We then use the success matrix. What are the target metric what for each feature? What are the drivers? How do we wish to measure it? And the goal with each success matrix. What are you trying to achieve? We also had shown the user journey, not in terms of just tech, but also because this was a mental well-being app. So we wanted to show them how a person navigates through this experience of well-being. For example, they start off with denial, doubt, acceptance, control, and so for every we wanted to gauge the opportunities, the well-being state, the opportunities, and the risk and consequences. Because topics sensitive such as this, we'll have to keep that in mind. We then had a go-to-markets strategy. We calculated the SAM, TAM, and total addressable market, etc. And we saw a lot of potential. We then suggested the launch strategy, that what would the beta version look like, what would the marketing and validation, scaling and development, etc., etc. Full feature launch. But, let's for calculation of market potential, what we use, this is the generic framework that we follow, that is SAM, TAM, and SOM, that is total addressable market, the whole market that is present, and then serviceable available market, the market that hasn't been captured, and the SOM, which is obtainable serviceable obtainable market, the realistic market that we think can be captured. Now monetization. This is one and sometimes corporates do specifically ask for this slide. So a freemium model is when you give the basic features for free and when you charge for additional features. For example, YouTube with ads is a freemium model. And then if you want the ads to be removed, etc., and say additional features, you'll have to pay. You'll have to subscribe, right? So it becomes premium features. So what would the cost be like for a year? And then if this might be a B2C. If we want to go for B2B options, what would they be like? The revenue projections, the revenue sharing, because in B2B we'll have to keep that in mind as well. So, also I did mention that whenever you mention anything financials and quantified, do show the working. So we attach the Excel worksheet as well. So this marks the end of this section. Hope this helped you understand even a little bit how to navigate the product management case competition journey. And if you have any questions, do ping me. My contacts would be shared on the description along with the link for this session.